Welcome to the Best of the Immigration Answer Show. My name is Jim Hacking. I'm an immigration attorney, and we're happy to welcome you. And we want to say thank you to everyone who supports us on all our platforms, especially those who write to us on social media, follow us, and share their immigration stories with us. We're grateful to the community that we have built together and has inspired us to create this podcast. We hope you enjoy it. All right, Mike. Hi, Mike.
Hi, Jim. How are you today?
Great, buddy. How you doing?
Very good. Thank you. We went to the adjustment of status yesterday, the interview with my spouse, and they asked me two questions. They asked several, but there's two that I think we have problem with. The first one, they asked me if I ever applied for a visa and it was denied, and I said no. And the officer seemed concerned, so I asked her, "What's the issue?" She said, "Well, your visa was first denied, or they were about to deny it when you applied for it, and then they corrected it and approved it." I told her, well, I didn't know that. There's nothing on my passport that shows that, and they didn't mention anything to me. So she gave me the opportunity to adjust the question on the form and put yes, and then she put an explanation that he didn't know that he was first denied. I don't know if this is a problem.
What kind of visa and what embassy was it?
It was an F1 student visa in 2011 in Damascus, Syria.
So is that the only visa you've ever applied at an embassy overseas for?
Correct, yes.
So you're telling me that in 2011 you applied for a student visa, it ultimately got approved.
Yes.
And you didn't know that at some point they were about to deny it, or they had denied it, and then they changed their mind and approved it.
That's correct, yes.
She tried to hold that against you a little bit and made you change your answer.
She was nice.
Yeah.
She wasn't mean in any way, but yeah, she seemed concerned, and I thought to myself, let me just put yes, better than put no, and then they consider it as misinformation.
Your spouse is a U.S. citizen?
Correct.
And did the officer tell you? Yeah, I agree. This is one where a lawyer, I never would have agreed to do that. I would have told him to fuck off, but that's okay. I understand why you did it. Did the officer tell you why it was almost denied or no?
She did not say. She said, yeah, I can see how they corrected it and they approved it afterwards.
Well,
But
she
she
sounds
didn't
like a
tell.
dumbass. That was a dumb question. To me, it sounds like an inexperienced officer.
Could be. Now, the bigger issue is the one I discussed with you about 2 weeks ago, is my previous asylum case with my previous spouse. I was a derivative on that case.
I remember.
Yes. So she asked me, have you ever applied for asylum? And I can tell she's anticipating my answer. And I told her I was a derivative on my previous spouse's asylum case. However, we are divorced. You have all the evidence. And I provide her with a letter that I sent to the asylum office in Arlington, Virginia, asking for me to be removed from that case. And so she said, well, I can't yet approve then your 485. I have no problem with your 130. I can see that you guys are married and you have all the evidence, but I can't approve the 485 until I get your asylum file from the asylum office. And they are very busy, so I don't know how long that would take. So I am very concerned right now. I don't know what the next step for me to take to resolve this situation, and I need your advice, please.
Well, number one, that's BS. They can't approve your case without seeing your asylum file, but a lot of officers do take that tact. How long has your 485 been on file?
1 year exactly.
1 year? So I would say, I mean, you're not going to want to hear this, but if 6 months go by from the interview and you don't have a decision, and you might say 90 days, but 6 months for sure. What field office?
Fairfax, Virginia, and I want to try to resolve it before the 20th of January.
Okay. Oh, right. Oh, yeah. Right. January 20th. It's a big day. So let's say if you don't have something by November 1st, let me know, and then we'll talk about suing them.
Okay. Thank you, Jim.
Bye, Mike. See you, buddy.
See you. Bye-bye.
That's a tricky one. It's hard to, because you can't technically withdraw a case when you're a derivative on asylum. So that makes it a little bit tricky. All right. Traylene has called me out. Damn. Traylene was right. It was Demolition Man. I forgot about that. Sad to say, I saw both Judge Dredd and Demolition Man at the movies. Did you guys know I used to go to about 120 movies a year? This is when I used to eat popcorn all the time and I weighed like 300 pounds. I was in the movie eating. I'd go out to dinner and then I'd go to the movies and eat. But yeah, I saw a ton of movies, and Sylvester Stallone made some bad ones. Did anyone remember Stop or My Mom Will Shoot? That was horrible. He's made a lot of bad movies. Now I really love Sylvester Stallone. If I'm in a slump and I watch a couple Rockies, that always gets me turned around. I love Sylvester Stallone, but man, he has made some stinkers. And Demolition Man wasn't bad. I think that might even be based on a Stephen King book. But Judge Dredd, which was based on a comic book, was not very good. All right,
Yeah,
Shay
hi.
is here. Hello.
So I thank you for taking my question. I've talked to probably maybe like 20 or 30 lawyers about this issue I've been having, and none of them have been able to help. And somebody recommended your law firm, and I guess you have kind of a strategy around suing the government to try to get progress made in some of these cases.
That's my favorite thing to do.
So yeah, I don't know if my case is strictly an immigration case. I mean, I've talked to lawyers. They say, originally they said talk to a family law attorney, and then I talked to them. They said talk to an immigration attorney, and he said talk to a probate lawyer, and the probate lawyer said talk to an immigration attorney. So no one's really been able to help.
So what's the issue?
I was born in the United States, basically, up in New Hampshire, but my family never got documentation of that, so they never filed a birth certificate. It was a home birth. They were anti-vaxxers, so there's no like medical records because they didn't believe in taking me to the doctor. I was homeschooled, so there's no school records. And for kind of the past 6 years, I've been trying to figure out how to get like a driver's license or a social security number so I can work. And I really have not been able to make any progress. And like I said, I've spoken to a number of attorneys. None of them have really been able to help. And somebody told me about your law firm and that you have a strategy of trying to file lawsuits with the Department of State.
Well,
and I know,
what are you trying to, hold on.
Yeah.
How old are you?
I'm 24.
So what's the first paper documentation that you existed in the United States?
I mean, there really isn't anything. There's the requests for me trying to get paper documentation getting denied, starting when I was 18, which I guess is.
So no school records, no medical records.
No, yeah. Again, I was homeschooled, and they were, anti-vaxxers, so they didn't believe in,
They really screwed you.
Yeah, it has not been easy. So I've been trying for a while to get this resolved, and yeah.
So basically, we have no proof that you didn't walk over from Canada when you were 6.
I mean, that's the current situation. I mean, if Canada had a record for me, I probably would be living there because I'd be able to work and be able to live a normal life, and I really haven't been, despite putting a lot of time into trying to get this resolved.
How are things with you? How are things between you and your parents?
So I mean, they kicked me out. That was last time I saw them.
Right.
And I don't know if you're, like New Hampshire is a big kind of militia and libertarian community. So I don't know if you're familiar with sovereign citizens, but that was what my family were. So they're very kind of anti-government and all of that stuff.
Jesus Christ.
So that's made it very difficult. So.
Do you have any older siblings?
I was an only child, and
God damn, it's like you're cutting off every avenue I can think of. So really,
I mean, oh, sorry, go on.
Really, there's no one that can even attest to the fact that you were born in the United States.
I haven't been able to find anyone. There was no midwife that I'm aware of, so that's.
But I mean, even like if you had an older brother who was 5 when you were born and he remembers when you were born, that might be something. Yeah. Sorry, Sam. I don't think I have anything for you, Sam. I'm sorry.
All right. I mean, the main thing I had heard about from your law firm was just kind of the lawsuit. So I didn't know if you thought it might be a viable strategy.
The lawsuit's based. It's okay. The lawsuit's based on an underlying application, and I just don't see any application to get you your citizenship that would be successful. I sue them to get a decision, or I sue them to make a wrong decision, but there's nothing to work with as far as even getting a good faith case on file. Does that make sense?
Okay, I get that. Shoot. Well, I appreciate you at least taking the time to talk to me all.
Thanks, man.
Trying to looking
Sorry,
for
Steve.
avenues.
Yeah,
Yeah.
good luck,
Thanks,
buddy.
Joe.
Yep.
Yep.
All right, all right.
Hi,
That's
Jim.
rough.
Can you hear me?
Parents, I hear you. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Thank you for asking. How are you?
I'm great,
Well,
thanks.
so I am an American citizen who filled out the I-130 petition for my wife in Mexico,
Okay.
and I was looking to move there. Is there anything against me getting, well, I'm going to get my dual citizenship too. Is there anything against me getting my dual citizenship with Mexico and then using the dual citizenship to live in Mexico while we wait for an approval from the USCIS? Is there?
How far along in the process are you, Chris? Like, did you just file the I-130? Is it almost done at USCIS? How long is it?
I submitted the paperwork July the 12th last year.
Oh, so it's almost ready to be approved.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I suppose it is if you say so.
Yeah, I mean, we're seeing usually about 12 to 14 months, so you're pretty darn close. So if I were you, what I would do, okay, so when the U.S. citizen wants to go live overseas, there's some things we need to talk about or think about. Number one is, what are we going to do with our house and our domicile? Are we going to keep our American address?
Right. That was another thing I was going to ask you about changing my address from US to Mexico.
So I think that
Yeah.
would be risky. I think you'd want to. I think you'd want to. If it's me, what I'm thinking is, okay, my address that I put on the I-130 is 1234 Arch Terrace, and so when I get about to go to another stage, so you have two more months or so at USCIS. Then after that, your case will get sent to the National Visa Center, and then you'll have to pay some more fees. You'll have to submit the DS-260 and a bunch of evidence, including your financial stuff. So when I hear you talking about moving to Mexico, I would want you to maintain a U.S. residence and to continue to use that address as your official USCIS and State Department address. I wouldn't want you to start messing around with some address in Mexico where they're never going to be able to find you. I mean, the good thing is when you get to the State Department, almost everything's electronic. There won't be much paper stuff, but I want you to keep a U.S. address. And then the other question is, are you going to be the only sponsor? Are you having a co-sponsor, or what's the deal?
I was going to see about me being the sponsor, but I'm not sure I make enough money, so I may have to ask somebody to be the sponsor for me.
So you have to be the first sponsor because you're the spouse. So if on your taxes for each of the last 3 years, unless you have kids or other dependents, if you made 30,000 each of the last 3 years, then you won't need a co-sponsor. Otherwise, you're going to need a co-sponsor. And that, what'd you say?
I was just saying I may not need a co-sponsor in that case then.
Good. So then the last thing is, so we want you to keep, even if you go live in Mexico, I want you to come back maybe once a year, see your family, keep your connections. And then the most important thing, we're in July right now. So if I'm you, the one thing is you might want to think about hiring a lawyer at this stage, because if you're going to be out of the country, you might want someone here monitoring the situation for you, especially if you are planning to give up that American address. At least having an attorney keep track of everything would be helpful. But you need to think about your income, because what could happen is you could qualify this year, but if you go live in Mexico for the rest of this year and for 6 or 7 months next year, then you might not make enough money at the time that she has her interview. And they might say, hey, is Chris still working? Where's his employment records? We need to see his 2024 taxes. And that's really the only way where things could, the main way where things could sort of go sideways for you.
Right. I honestly don't want to move there. I've been waiting for so long. I mean, it feels like it's been a while, but I just been waiting so long, and I just with her already, or I want us to be together.
Yeah, I would make sure I make enough money in 2024, and I wouldn't leave until I get my National Visa Center stuff squared away, unless you're going to hire a lawyer. But if you're going to do it yourself, I wouldn't leave until, like I said, a month or two, USCIS is going to approve that I-130. Then you're going to go to the National Visa Center, and I would want to get all that stuff started before you go live in Mexico, unless you're going to hire a lawyer.
So from what I understand, since I'm a U.S. citizen, and when the I-130 is going to be approved, there's instantly a visa, right? So all I got to do is fill out the paperwork, and like from what I understand, there's a visa
Well,
for a spouse of an American.
in a way, that's right. In other words, there's no cap on the number of visas. That's true, but you're still talking 3 or 4 or 5 months at the National Visa Center, and then you're waiting for Juarez to get an embassy slot, and that could be another year.
Okay.
So if I'm you, what I'm thinking is, I really want to be with my wife. I really want to see her a lot. I'm going to make sure I make enough money in 2024. I'm going to make sure I make enough money in 2025, and I'd figure out a way to come back and forth and make enough so that I can be the sponsor and still see her for lots of the time, but not necessarily move there wholesale.
Okay. I was also thinking hopefully I could find a remote job so I could work remotely, making US dollars and
That'd be
continue
great.
making.
That'd be great. That'd be great.
Okay. So maybe your advice sounds like it would be to wait until the approval, which you're saying it should be very soon. It
I
should
think
be
very
within
soon.
Okay, because I've been seeing for the past over a month, it says, "We're sorry, but your case is taking longer than expected." There's always a countdown, and then it'll go to, "We're sorry, your case is taking longer than expected."
I would say check the countdowns for the next 10 minutes and everybody will tell you about what it is. I believe it's about 14 months right now. So I think you're pretty close.
Okay, I've actually saw that on the USCIS website at about 14 months. So.
That's what we're seeing.
Okay, I think that's it. I really appreciate you taking my questions and helping me with answers.
Good luck, Chris. Sorry it's taking so long, bud. See ya.
Thank you.
All right. Here. Hello, Melissa.
Hi there. How you doing?
Great. How are you doing?
Good, thank you. I'm getting in touch because I have been going through my green card process for quite a few years, and a couple of weeks ago I lost my job, but then a week after my I-485 got approved. However, my priority date is one of those priority dates that recently retrogressed, so it's technically not current, and I don't know what that means.
So this is tricky. So it's an employment-based green card.
Mm-hmm.
You lost the job basically 5 days before they approved it.
Yeah. I was originally just planning on porting because I'd already been through the process for over 6 months. I was planning on just porting my job offer
to a new employer and getting a 45J. Yep.
Yeah.
I would what I would recommend is that you do a FOIA for your USCIS file.
Yeah.
So it's called a G639. Go online. I wouldn't do anything right now. Do you have the actual green card in hand?
It's being mailed to me as we speak.
And I assume that at some point you're going to want to become a U.S. citizen, right?
More likely than not.
Yes,
potentially.
Certainly, we want to keep that as a possibility. So what we need to figure out is whether or not your green card is legally valid or it's invalid, right?
Okay.
So, that's not going to be an easy thing to determine, and it might be a situation where you have to decide to yourself. I mean, one thing we might do is notify them of the time frame that you just said, and at least we put them on notice now that that's what happened, to see if they want to revoke the green card. Not that that's what you want to happen.
If it has to happen, it is what it is,
Yeah. So what I would do is I would take our time. I would get the complete file from USCIS, see if there's things in there that internally show that it was approved while you were still employed, or that you're before the dates retrogress, to see if we have something to play that if we wait and don't talk to anybody about it and then apply. What we don't want to do is 5 years from now apply for your citizenship, and then they say, "Oh, you never should have gotten your green card," and by that point you don't even have a basis for a green card anymore, and you're sort of screwed. I've seen that movie before. That's the worst thing that could happen. You're wise enough to call me and ask and be concerned about the legal validity of this green card. A lot of people just don't, and they just say, "Woohoo, I got my green card. Good thing right before I got fired, or right around the time I got fired." You didn't get fired, laid off. And woohoo, aren't I lucky? And I'll be sitting pretty when I get my citizenship. But then if they go back and look at everything. So what I would say, if I were you, what I would do is I would do a FOIA, and I would have a law firm, us or somebody else, review the whole thing and tell you whether or not we think this green card is valid or invalid, and then decide how to proceed after that.
Okay, great. That's exactly what I've done, because I thought that was the case. So thank you for that clarification. The next question I have. The reason why I found out this was an issue was I'm part of a USCIS group on Reddit, and I posted my situation, and I was added to this Telegram group of about 70 other people that have a similar priority date to me, EB3 or EB2 classification, were part of the situation where they got their, they were current for a period of time this year, be it 2, 3, or 4 months, then retrogressed, and then in July have now received their approvals. So there's about 70 of us at least that are in this situation. Does that mean that it's probably, because there's so many of us, probably going to be okay?
I think that's good information to have. I think it's a good sign that things are on solid ground. You could never raise that as a defense if they don't naturalize you, but to me that's a sign that USCIS does things in a different way that everybody doesn't really know. Like, in other words, because it's a really tricky thing with retrogression and visas becoming available and unavailable. And my understanding is that there's a time, I said this on the show the other day, my understanding is there's a time where USCIS goes out and grabs visa numbers from the State Department and holds them for people whose applications are a certain stage in the process. My understanding also is that the visa still has to be available when they adjudicate it, but I think this would be a good question for a USCIS officer. If only there were some watching the show, which there are. This would be a good thing for me to figure out. Like, we have in the American Immigration Lawyers Association, they have like a liaison, and sometimes they'll have these like town halls where you can present them a question. This would be a good thing to either find out or to litigate, one or the other.
Right. The next question I have is, I've contacted the Department of State to see what date they might have allocated my visa.
Look at you.
I'm literally trying everything I can.
You're doing great. You're doing everything right. You're doing great.
Okay, so that was a good move. Okay, cool.
Yeah, sure.
Cool. Well, those are all my questions. If you have any more ideas, I'd really appreciate it.
Send me an email so I know where you are, and I'll talk to some people here in the office.
Great. Okay. Can I find your email online?
It's right there. It's info@hackingimmigrationlaw.com.
Okay. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Bye, Melissa. Yep. See ya. All right, Doug's back. Doug, I have 4 minutes, my friend.
Hi, Jim. How are you?
Good, buddy. How you doing?
Good. Thank you. I have a quick question. So I applied for adjustment of status in 2021, and my I-485 got denied because they said that I was not inspected or parole, and I did not send any evidence. And I have DACA, and the person that helped me adjust my status said that you don't need a waiver, and I have a 130 approved also from my dad. And the person that helped me said, well, if you have 130 approved and you have DACA, you don't need a waiver to go back to your country. You could adjust status here. But I got denied because I was not paroled or something like that. So I don't know what to do. What do you recommend?
Do you still have DACA?
I do, yes.
And when did your dad file the I-130 for you?
He did in 2015.
2015?
Yes.
And okay, hold on a second. I'm just looking. So that is, and you're unmarried or married?
I'm not unmarried, but I have kids. And
yeah. So you're an unmarried son. When in 2015? What's the receipt date? Do you know?
Give me 1 second. I have it here. Receipt date
for the I-130. What, I didn't hear what you said. What's the receipt date?
December 23, 2015.
Okay, so right now they're on October of 2015. So your date's not current yet, but that's okay because you have other things you have to do. So the reason your case got denied and the reason that you didn't get your green card is because you don't have a valid entry to the United States.
Correct.
So you need to file for advance parole under DACA.
Okay.
You can ask the government for permission to go back home and then come back. and if your I-130 receipt date becomes current, then you can file for adjustment because you have a valid entry and your priority date's current.
Okay.
So
And
the big question is, what country are you from?
El Salvador.
And is it safe for you to go back to El Salvador?
Um, they say it's okay, I would say.
Okay, and is there like an old grandma there or somebody you need to go see? Because you need to have a reason to go
Mm-hmm.
back to El Salvador. So, like, if you want our help, we can help with this. I love working on these cases. So, if you want our help, just email me. But we need to get you into El Salvador, back to the United States. We need your priority date to become current, and then you can get a green card. So it's lots of little moving parts, but you have a path.
Okay. And so if I do that and then I come back and the CBP, will I have any problems? Like saying, if they ask me if your I-145 got denial, if they ask me that question, would they ask me that on the CBP or no?
Yeah, they could, but you'll have advanced parole under DACA, and they should let you back in. And if I were you, I would do this right away, because if Trump gets elected, this is one thing that's going to go away really quickly. So you need to go in the next month or two.
Okay. All right. So I contact your office so we can start this.
Yeah. Do you know how to get a hold of us?
I have the number. Yes.
Yeah, or you can email us, info@hackingimmigrationlaw.com, info@hackingimmigrationlaw.com. Either way, okay?
Okay. Very good. Thank you, Jim.
Yeah, get moving, buddy. Don't wait, okay?
All right.
Well, there you have it, another edition of the Best of the Immigration Answer Show. Again, my name is Jim Hacking. I'm an immigration attorney practicing law throughout the United States, out of our offices in St. Louis, San Diego, and Washington, D.C. If you want to get a hold of us at the firm, you can email us, info@hackingimmigrationlaw.com, or you can call us at 314-961-8200. You also can join our free Facebook group. It's called Immigrant Home. We'd love to have you join us there. There's thousands of immigrants talking about the immigration process in there every single day. We also have our YouTube channel where you can subscribe to see all of our videos and to get alerted whenever we go live, whenever we're going to record another episode of the Immigration Answer Show. Maybe you could be a guest and ask us a question. Finally, if you're not following us on TikTok, we suggest you do, @Immigration Hacking. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll talk to you next time.